Okay, let us start by paying homage to the Buddha. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang saranang gacchami, Dhammang saranang gacchami, Sanghang saranang gacchami, Tutiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami, Tutiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami, Tutiyampi Sanghang saranang gacchami, Tatiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami, Tatiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami, Tatiyampi Sanghang saranang gacchami. May our homage to the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha for second times and third times. Anumodani. Okay, good morning everyone and good evening everyone from all around the world. Today we are on week 14, Buddhism in English level 4, and today we have a very special lecture about the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, the Sutta on the turning the wheel of the Dhamma, or setting the Dhamma in motion. On the meantime that we just celebrated Asalaha Puja to remind of the special events during the time of the Buddha. It is also the birthday of the Dhamma that we remember the full moon day, 15th full moon day of Asalaha or Asataman in Buddhism. It is one of the very important events in Buddhism. Apart from Visakha Puja, Magha Puja, we have Asalaha Puja because this day marks the day of the Dhamma. It is the day that the Buddha started his very first sermon after he gained enlightenment. Then this is the first discourse that he delivered to the first 5 months in Buddhism. That's why I believe this is such a special occasion for all of us to be able to learn Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta. Though some of you may have already learned before, yet it is still very crucial to learn more and more because this sutta is very wide, very deep, and it's worth learning again and again so that we can catch up some more idea to be able to apply in our daily life. And of course, today we have a special honor to have invited Professor His Excellency Mr. Sen Kung. Let me introduce again. His Excellency Mr. Sen Kung is the Under Secretary of State, Advisor to the Royal Palace of the Kingdom of Cambodia, and also a Professor of Panyasastra, University of Cambodia, a researcher and an author. And he's also a PhD candidate in political science at Royal Academy of Cambodia. His master degree of arts in Buddhist studies from the University of Kelaniya, Sri Lanka, and bachelor degree of art in Buddha Dhamma from International Theravada Buddhist Missionary University, Myanmar. So he's my senior. We have been in Myanmar and in Sri Lanka to do our BA and master degree, and he's very experiential teacher who have given lectures in many classes at the universities, not only in PUC, but in any other university as well. So I like to give the floor to His Excellency Mr. Sen Kung to take over. So we will just able to learn with him today. And if you have any question, just note it down at the end of the session. After 1 hour, we will have a chance to engage conversation with Professor. Thank you. The floor is yours.
Respected Venerable Sokthewi and respected Venerable, all Venerable here, and good evening, brothers and sisters in the Dhamma. Maybe good morning as well. I'm not sure that there's only our classmate here is not only from Cambodia, but as mentioned by Venerable that the class is from around the world, right? I'm not sure you got me well now.
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. As Venerable mentioned, it is a special lecture, but I don't think it is a special lecture, as we normally already have many lectures already, as right now is the 14th week, right? So I would like to express my heartfelt thanks for Venerable Sokthewi for having me here to join and share a little bit knowledge on the Buddhist studies, as the course is English, Buddhism in English level 4. I'm really appreciate for Venerable Sokthewi for his insight and has a great experience in conducting such a special course, English, Buddhism in English, in starting from the beginning until now. So it's mean that it is very special for, let's say that this course is a very useful platform that is Venerable Sokthewi created for the benefit for all of us. As a matter of fact, I did not prepare the slide presentation. So what I want to share with you here is only just what I have remember from my previous higher education when I was in Burma, and also when I was in Sri Lanka, and I spent for some years teaching in Buddhist philosophy in some Buddhist university in Phnom Penh and Battambang province. So based on this experience with little knowledge, I share with you what we call the first discourse or the first sermons of the Buddha. Let's say Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra or Sutta in Pali, and we can translate this in various ways. Some author they translated as setting the Dhammas in motion, and some author translate it as the discourse on the turning wheel of truths or the turning wheel of the Dhammas. This discourse or this sermon is quite fundamental to all Buddhists. We have how many Buddhist monks here? 1, 2, 3. How many of you have read the discourse in either in Pali or in translation in Khmer or English? May you raise your hand. How many of you, or you just give one voice that you already have read this story or this discourse so far? One. Pasoka. Is you from Cambodia?
Yes, Vaishra, I'm in Cambodia.
I see. Thank you.
I think that Professor, actually many of us know, but maybe they cannot cope what you have mentioned so far about who have read the article of the Sutta. Maybe some don't raise a hand. Maybe they will speak out.
Okay, I see. Thank you. I recognize one brother, Jaya. You still remember me? Well, now we come back to our discussion on the turning wheel of the truths. Why this discourse is quite important in Buddhism. When we ask what is Buddhism so far, I think you already discussed what is Buddhism. And we found that Buddhism is quite like, and we found different answer from different scholars. They may give different definition, different theories, different point of view on what is Buddhism all about. But if we look at the detail and deeper, we found that Buddhism is nothing else but the Four Noble Truths. That is the fundamental teachings of the Buddha as mentioned in Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra. Right, Venerable Soktivi? You agree with this one?
Yeah, it's a fundamental.
I just would like to, I don't want to talk myself alone. I just want to get interact from our classmate here. Because if I talk alone, maybe some of us will fall asleep, even me myself. I experienced for 2 or 3 years in the conducting classes online while the COVID pandemic is quite tough and very exhausted when we conducting the course and the teacher or the lecturer just give a lectures alone while the students are sleeping and listening. At the moment in Cambodia is quite late night, so we want to interact for all of us. Yesterday just passed. Yesterday is full moon day of the Asad, and the full moon day of Asad is the day that the Buddha started teaching his discourse after he got the enlightenment for 2 months. Let us go back to the long history. While the Buddha start practicing before he was enlightenment, he start practice the vipassana, or let's say concentration of wisdom inside. And then one day, in the full moon day of Visak, he got enlightenment. And 2 months later, fall upon full moon of the Asad, and he started teaching the first discourse that we call, everyone know that Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta. Unfortunately, I myself feel a little bit sad, and when we found that many Buddhist novices and Buddhist monks did not learn this properly, did not learn the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra properly. Why I mentioned that? Because either in the temple, in the rural area, or in the city, we found that very few monks and novices have learned this. Even we learn this by heart, and everyone remember and can recite it, but very few of them understand the deep meaning, the detailed meaning of the sutra, and did not be aware of the fundamental of the sutra. Right, Venerable?
Yeah, I believe so. They can recite it by heart, they memorize it and do it like blessing for others. But actually, some among they don't really understand that is the way to liberation from suffering.
Yeah. This is the sad story that not only in Cambodia, but in many other Theravada Buddhist country, let's say Thailand, Laos, or Myanmar or Sri Lanka, we face the same problem that beside few scholars learning in higher education in the Buddhist university and so on, we found like the traditional educational system in each country, like a monastic education and so on, did not focus muchly on the turning wheel of the truths or Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra. So what I just mentioned here about is I just want to remind all of us that this one is quite important, that we have to pay attention much because Buddhism, after the Buddha start teaching this sutra, and the last 45 years of his life, we found that the many aspects of his teaching rooted in the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra. So let me introduce the story, a little bit story. When the Bodhisattva, the Buddha to be, after he was born in the royal family, and he spent 29 years in the royal palace, enjoy life, and he did not aware what is called suffering. And until one day he left the royal palace for the let's say for the entertainments, traveling, and then in the park, and then he found the what we call a suffering. Let's say finding the old man, sick man, and the corpse, the body, the physical corpse, and finally he found a recluse. I do not want to use the word monk because the word monk is a specific use in Buddhism. But before the Buddha was enlightenment, there are many ordained, let's say ordained community in India. But we better use another word like a Brahmin and recluse. Brahmin and recluse, it's mean, let me give one in Khmer, Samana Priem. Yeah. This is the first word that we heard from the Buddha teaching, and he mentioned a lot about other kind of religious practices in India, and most of them is we found these two words, Brahmin and recluse, or recluse and Brahmin, Samana Priem. But when the Buddha got the enlightenment, after he practiced for 6 years austerity, or let's say he practiced the 6 years of ascetic practice, serious practice, and finally he got enlightenment. After he aware with the middle part, let's say he aware of the self-mortification and self-indulgence is not the way leading to the cessation of suffering. So what I want to mention here is that the beginning that the Buddha start to teach it, Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, he introduced what we call the two extreme. The two extreme. The first one is self-indulgence. Self-indulgence is compared to the lifetime of the Bodhisattva when he was living in the royal palace. And he enjoyed life in various forms of the world, let's say the worldly or the worldling or the mundane life. And then after spent for 29 years, and he found what is the real life. That is, he found life must face the old age, sickness, and death. So be aware that this is the real suffering of life. And after contemplation, and he need to find out or to seek out the way for living or leading to the cessation of suffering. And he left the royal palace, become a recluse. At the beginning, he became a recluse. Let's say he left the royal palace for a renunciation. I think you may already understand what is the renunciation. Venerable, how to translate renunciation?
Yeah, they know it and they come back. Yes, just
Right.
setting forth to
That's
become
great.
a monk, right? Setting forth to become
Yeah.
one or
So he left the royal palace in terms of renunciation and become a recluse. Samana. I don't want to say monk at that time. And he spent for 6 years in practice, the Asturias practice. Let's say Tukarakeya. And finally he got enlightenment. 2 months later, he traveled from the Buddha Gaya, from the other place to start teaching at the, let's say, the deer park. The deer park is Saranath. Right now is Saranath, in one city that we call Saranath. The deer park, Prey Padal Dal Samrit, let's say in Khmer.
yeah, that's
And he started teaching with the 5 ascetic, 5 recluse, let's say Panjavagiya. The word bhikkhu at that time is not appear yet. So after he teach the first discourse, Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra, to them, and one of the 5 is Godanya. He got enlightenment. He attained the hardship, and the rest is still on the way until the Buddha teach other 2 sutra, and all of them become the arahantship. Since then, we found the word bhikkhu or bhikkhu. Start from that, we address them as a Panjavikaya bhikkhu. It's mean a group of 5 monks. So reckon back to yesterday is the full moon day of Asad. Is a quite important of the Buddhism. Let's say Asad is the first day, or the day that the arising of the Dhamma and also arising of the Sangha. It's mean, let's say right now many people discuss about Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, who come first. We always mention and discuss about that so far. And we say the Buddha, some scholars say the Buddha come first, and then the Dhamma, and then the Sangha. Based on orderly, the Buddha is the first, is the founding of this religion, the founder of religion. And then after the 3 triple gems, let's say the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha arrive together, we call the full moon day of Asad as the day of the triple gems arise in the world. And in Buddhist mind, in Buddhist concept, not only in Cambodia, but in Thailand, in Myanmar, in Laos, in Sri Lanka, we treat the full moon day of Asad as the special day, and we celebrate once event that we call Asalha Puja. It's mean the worshipping or the respecting or the commemoration day of the arising of the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha, as the all the element of Buddhism arise at the same time. That's why Asala Puja is quite important in Buddhism as well. Unfortunately, in Cambodia, not so very popular. Just recently, around 2 or 3 or 5 years record back from now, we found that Asala Puja become day to day is popular. Many Buddhists traveling to the Buddhist temple and start listening to the Dhamma, the preaching of the Dhamma, and even they also practice meditation as guided by the Buddhist monk in the temple as well. Especially like in Phnom Penh, we found like in the Kultutung, Nikrodwan temple is quite very popular and very famous. Many Buddhists traveling to this temple every, let's say, every full moon day of the Asad to celebrate the Asala Puja. As I heard and I experienced myself, I travel quite often to this temple. And how many of you did join the Asala Puja yesterday?
You can turn on the mic and engage in the conversation, everyone. Feel free to talk, okay? Because the teacher, he wants us to get involved with the conversation as he moves on with the presentation. So feel free to talk. Open your mic, turn on your mic and talk, okay, everyone? Has anyone joined the celebration yesterday, the full moon night? You can raise your hand and you can turn on the mic.
I did this morning, last night. My respect to you, Dhammacakkappavattana, and
Where did you
everyone.
join? Yeah.
I went to the Seattle temple, and so we had I listened to the Dhamma, the Dhamma teaching, and we did the candle lighting. So yes, thank you.
Seattle temple. Venerable Dhammasiri, where he stay? Seattle or somewhere?
No, he's in Arizona.
Arizona. Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I got one of my friend, my classmate living in the state, but in Arizona. Is a classmate when we was in Sri Lanka.
Long time ago, right? Yeah.
Yeah, a long time. It's 13 years ago, and I already left the temple 12 years. Let's say 12 years until now. But many of my friends still in the monkhood, and some of them in Syria, in the state, and some in Switzerland, and so on. Okay, nice to hear that you joined the Asala Puja in the state, in Seattle temple. And how many of our classmates here in Cambodia did you join the temple yesterday? No? The Kunpir, Supir, are you here?
Cannot hear.
No, maybe not here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am here, Professor Sinkung. Nice to meet you again.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
Yeah. So I used to study with you since 2004, maybe 14, right? Yeah.
Maybe in 2014.
In the 80 class. And very happy to see you, and also you share about the Asala Puja. Is my Pagada yesterday just celebrate not too big, but just welcome every disciple and to chanting and giving a short Dhamma talk for Asalha Puja, and also before the entrance of the Vesar, Vesar reason.
Mhm.
That's all for me, and thank you.
Thank you. I want to share a little bit. Actually, it's not a proper slide, but only just a few slides. This is the. You see the screen?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, the discourse on the turning wheel of truth. Let's say what we call Dhamma here is that we can translate as the truth. Why we translate as the truth? So let's go back to our discussion previously. We mentioned that before the Buddha tried to introduce what he found, what we understand in the nature, we call the truths, the Four Noble Truths. So the Buddha introduced what we call the two extremes. Let's say in Khmer Antator. The first extreme is the self-indulgence. So he living a luxurious life in the royal palace and a comfortable life for 29 years. But after he found the real life, after seeing the fourth thing is old age, sickness, death, and the reclusion, then he decided to leave the royal palace for renunciation, and then he started practicing the Asturias practice, the ascetic practice for 6 years. So the practice of this Asturiasity we call self-mortification. So the first one is self-indulgent. We call Dhammacakkappavattana. It means you engage yourself with sensual desires. And then after he left the royal palace and he started practicing in order to attain the enlightenment, he practiced 6 years of Asurias practice. And then this is we call the self-mortification, Attakalamatthana yoga. That he make himself to be suffer, even like he did not have any meal, and the days, the whole day, and then his body become weak and so on. But later he, after contemplation, after reflection, as a deep reflection, he found the way that self-indulgence and self-mortification is not the way to the cessation of suffering. It's not the way to attain enlightenment. And then he come back to what we call the middle path. And let's say, don't walk on the left and don't walk on the right, but we have to walk in the middle. So he found that the middle way is the only way leading to the cessation of suffering. Let's say, the only way that lead to the enlightenment. He used the word like middle way, Majjhima Padipatiya. The right word is for me. I prefer to use the word moderate rather than the middle. When we say the middle, like we still a little bit confused. Some people, let's say, middle way. Let's translate in Khmer. Some people sayផ្លូវកណ្ដាល ឬកណ្ដាលផ្លូវ. That is, some people say middle way is កណ្ដាលផ្លូវ. So we prefer to use the word like moderate, Macchamappadipati, Matchum, ជាភាសាខ្មែរ Matchum. I give you one example. I'm not sure how many of you have known one kind of the souring taste. Sour taste is ម្ជូរចេងក្រែងនឹងគ្នាយើងណាស្គាល់ម្ជូរចេងក្រែងទេ
I don't know too.
ស្គាល់ទេលោកគ្រូ
ម្ជូរចេងក្រែងហ្នឹងអ្នកខ្លះគេហៅម្ជូរល្មម ពណ៌ក្រហមផ្ការៀងកឆាញគេយកមកបកអាសបកក្រហមហ្នឹងយកហាលឲ្យស្ងួតដាក់ស្ល
បើមកជួលល្មមហ្នឹងអាត្មាធ្លាប់លឺដែរលោកគ្រូតែធ្លាប់លឺធ្លាប់ហូបការនៅវស័កទៀត
ណាហ្នឹងហើយ
តើវាមានបន្លា
បានខ្លះគេបន្លារៀងបន្លាកឆាញទូចប៉ុណ្ណេះជើងដល់ some part like in Battambang they call Julamo. In my region we call Chain Crane. Like it's in different place we call different name. Why we call this as Julamo? So let me give you one example. Whatever, how much you put it in our soup, or how much you put it in the water. It doesn't matter. The taste is still the same. It's not like the, let's say, lemon. Not the same lemon. Lemon, if you put a lot, it will be too much sour. But for this one, how many you put doesn't matter. It's still the same taste. That's why some people say Michulamon. So after the Buddha introduced the two extreme, self-indulgence and self-mortification, and then he said that if you want to lead your life nobly, if you want to lead your life happily, you must avoid this two extreme. And if you want to lead your life to the cessation of suffering, you must walk on the right path or the middle path or the middle way. Let's say Majjhimappadipati. And he introduced what we call Majjhimappadipati or the middle path. And he called the name is Noble Eightfold Paths. Noble Eightfold Path. Why we call Noble Eightfold Path? This path is walked by the noble person. Because we have Arayameh. Why we call Arayameh? Because this way is walking by the noble person, Araya Bokul. And sometimes we say Eightfold Noble Path, because this path consisted of 8 elements. But these 8 elements cannot be separated. And where these 8 elements is inside our body, inside one human being. We cannot find this Eightfold Noble Path outside of our physical body. I give you, this is another story actually. After the Buddha introduced the first discourse, Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra, or the turning wheel of truths, he introduced the second sutra. He preached the second sutra as we call Anattalakkhana Sutra. The non-self, the discourse on non-self. So in that we found everything is non-self, everything is non-self. But here I just want to express that the world has 3 characteristics, and these 3 characteristics coexist and found everything in life, either in the formation thing or non-formation thing. This is what we found. Human being have this nature. Animal have this nature. They eat, they sleep, they face the fear, and they also have like offspring. And human being also have the same thing. Before we evolve ourselves, I just put the picture. Just don't want to mention that human evolved from animal. I don't mention that, but just put the picture. What is that? And this important thing is that, you see, human being has one more characteristic, has one more intrinsic natures that we say the Dhamma. So the Dhamma here just want to mention the truth, or sometimes the Dhamma here mention about the wisdom. Dhamma here mention about logical thinking. So one question is that what human apart from animal? What make human different from animal? Let's say animal and human have the same thing. The four thing is that human and animal eat in order to survive. Human and animal have to sleep. Human and animal fear when they face in dangers. And human and animal, if they want to offspring, they need to have sex. But what human has higher than animal is that Dhamma. Let's say logical thinking, let's say the truth, let's say the education, let's say the Dhamma here is wisdom. That's why in the our Khmer normally say Dhammacakkappavattana. Sorry, I did not translate this yet. Setting wheel of the Dhamma in motion. Let's say turning wheel of the truth. The first, the Buddha introduced the two extreme. As I mentioned, mortification, self-indulgence and self-mortification, Dhammacakkappavattana yoga and Atthakalamatthana yoga. And next, the Buddha said, if you want to live a noble life and you want to free yourself from suffering, you have to avoid the two extremes. And you have to walk the right path, or we call the middle path. And then the three elements, that is the Buddha start to introduce the fourth noble truth. The fourth noble truth is the fundamental, is the tool. The fourth noble truth is not the thing that we focus on. The fourth noble truth is only the Dhamma as mentioned in Buddhism, but the fourth noble truth is the tool to analyze, think. Besides to understand this one, the fourth noble truth is the tool to analyze, think. Let me give you why we call the fourth noble truth as the tool. Now let's say we found you see the slide. So here we see view, thought, speech, action, livelihood, effort, mindful concentration. This is what we call the Eightfold Noble Paths. We call the middle path. And after the Buddha introduced the middle path, he introduced the Four Noble Truths. So you see here is the Four Noble Truths, the suffering, and the causes of suffering, the cessation of suffering, and the path of the cessation of suffering. But in order to, let's say, when the Buddha found the suffering, suffering we might give a very deepening definition. Some people say suffering is hard to bear, is hard to persistent, hard to tolerate, and so on. And then, but in simple way, suffering can identify as a problem. We can understand that in our life, from day to day life, we face different kind of problem. That problem is we call suffering. And then the problem has normally when there is a problem, there's a cause. There's no any problem without cause. That's why we see the causes of suffering or the causes of the problem. And we analyze that, is there any sensation? If there's a problem, there must be the solution or the cessation of the problem. If we found that the suffering or the problem has the solution, have the cessation of problem, how we give the solution? So when we ask the question how, this is we call Eightfold Noble Path, is the only path leading you to the cessation of suffering or leading you to the cessation of problem. So we found the key elements of the Buddha's teaching in the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra is only these three elements. The first, the two extreme, that need to be avoided. And the second one, the middle part, need to be treated, or need to walk, or need to practice. And then the Four Noble Truths, that we have to understand what is all about the Four Noble Truths. We might see in the in Pali like Ditti, Sankappa, Vaja, Kamanta, Ajiva, Vayama, Sati, and Samadhi. And we understand that Dukkha, Samudaya, Nirodha, and Magga. When we talk about the middle way, or the Eightfold Noble Path, we found this key word, 8 word, Ditti, Sankappa, Vaya, Kamanta, Ajiva, Vayama, Sati, and Samadhi. We need another word. The key word is that Samma. Samma, let's say the right. Samadhi, it means the right view. Samma Sankappa, right thought. Samma Vaya, right speech. Samma Kamanta, right action. Samma Ajiva, right livelihood. Samma Vayama, right effort. Samma Sati, right mindfulness. And Samma Samadhi, right concentration. So all these 8 elements of the Eightfold Noble Path, we need another key word, is that Samma. Let Samma translated as the right. But if we translate the right, there must be the opposite is wrong. So let's say Miccha Ditti, Miccha Sankappa, Miccha Vaja, Miccha Kamanta, Miccha Jiva, Miccha Vayama, Miccha Sati, and Miccha Samadhi. So we always have the opposite. And we have the right one, we have the wrong one. That is all about what I want to introduce. Is only 3 or 4 slides, and you got the key point. That is what all about as mentioned in the discourse Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra. So I think my presentation come to an end. So beside from this, the floor is free for all of you. If you want to have any question, you can raise, and if I can answer, yes. If I cannot, I will transfer the question to Venerable Soktevi to answer all the question. Okay, so the floor is returned back to Venerable Soktevi for the moderate the last session. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Professor, for your great presentation on the teaching of the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta. Very, very important and also very profound teaching. We have learned a great deal from your presentation. And I open the floor to everyone. You can raise your hand and you can go in order. Okay, Melanie Lim from Oregon. Okay.
Thank you so much. I'd like to pay respect to the sir and to Excellency Sin Kwong for the presentation today. And my question is, I know that the Eightfold Noble Truth is for the noble person to attain. And how do we, as a normal person that is not a noble, is not Arya, how do we practice all those 8 noble paths?
Thank you for your question. At the beginning, the first thing I used the keyword that is a noble eightfold path, Araya Mẹ, ประกอบด้วยองค์รวมไว้ or Atthangika Mẹ, let's say like that. And we have different kind of interpretation. The first interpretation why we call Eightfold Noble Path or Noble Eightfold Path. We call this as noble because this path is walking by the noble person, and come up with the question, as you mentioned, we are a normal person. Let's say we are willing, but how can we walk on this path? You know, I mentioned a little bit, another keyword is that the Eightfold Noble Path cannot be found outside physical body, cannot be found outside human being. So Eightfold Noble Path is already inside our body. Let me give you one example. Right view. Right view is your understanding. Understanding is not something outside human body, outside human being. Let's say right thought. Thought is your thought. We cannot find the animal thought. The animal might not think as we thought, but human think as we thought. Let's say human have our idea, human have our thought. So speech is the key word as well. I don't think many sentient being can express this speech like a human being. So speech is in ourselves. Action like human body, human being do their own action. Human being make a living being. Let's say make a living. They do a business or do whatever. And let's say kamanta, right action, or sama kamanta, and right livelihood, right effort. Human being also put an effort. And right mindfulness, human being pay attention, pay their attention to whatever is the right thing. And the last one is the concentration. We focus our mentality, our thought, we focus it on a single object, let's say one-pointedness. So we come back. The expression or the interpretation of some scholar mentioned that the Eightfold Noble Path is the only path for the noble person. That is the right. Because this path will lead you to be a noble person. but it's not. It does not mean that only the noble person walk this path, but the worldling people, the normal people walking on this path in order to transform their own self to be a noble person, when they develop and uphold what is we call Eightfold Noble Path correctly. So what I want to express here is that Eightfold Noble Path is existed in our human body. Let's say when we say our human bodies, I don't want to say only physical body, but we also mention about mind. That's why the Buddha used the word form and mind, matters and mind and matters. We cannot separate it, physical body from the mind, and separated the mind from physical body. So the mind and the body coexisted to be together. We call as a human being. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor. You have question, raise your hand. And I see Dara, are you a monk or you want to ask by yourself, or Dara? I don't know if a monk or lay person. I think he has 2 questions. How to, yeah. Okay, please.
Yep, Robo. Yep, I am a normal person, and I got 2 questions related to the right view. The first one is how can we have a right view, and the second one is how to improve or enhance our right view to see something in real nature.
Thank you. Let's say I found one thing actually, like right view, starting from right view or right understanding to the right concentration. The 8 elements of that, the eightfold of that, is connected to each other as a system. Right view, let's say the Buddha teach, if we have understand the first thing is understand of the law of nature, let's say the law of karma, the law of cause and effect. This is one. To understand the law of cause and effect, do this, will receive the action like this. Do this action, will receive the result like this, like that, and so on. This is the one understanding. And another keyword, normally we do not accept what I introduced from the beginning of my slide, is that the 3 characteristics of the world, impermanence, suffering, and non-self. So the Buddha teaches us that everything is impermanent. Only the changing is changing. The changing is changing. Or let's say only the changing is unchanged, impermanent. And then when we cannot control that, everything always change and we suffer. We got disappointed from that thing. And why that? Because we cannot control it. That is, we call it non-self. So based on that, our understand, not based on that, our understand everything is permanent. Our understanding everything is happiness. Everything is happy. And we understand that everything is belong to ourselves. And finally, we understand that and we see that everything is beautiful. Everything is beautiful. While the Buddha say, unbeautiful, let's say, not beautiful, asubha, loathsomeness. So based on that, if we have understand that the world is changing, everything is changing. If we understand that everything is disappointed based on when some changing, the Buddha teach the keyword is the suffering produced by change. Suffering produced by change. His keyword is viparinama dukkha. ពាក្យប្រែថាវិបរិនាមទុក្ខ that is ទុក្ខដែលកើតចេញពីការប្រែប្រួល sometimes we feel that we are happy, but when that happy change, the condition change, we face suffering, we disappointed, and then that is we call the suffering produced by change. So my question, my point is that if we understand all these things, the world is changing, everything unconditioned thing is suffering, and let's say sorry, not unconditioned thing, conditioned thing is suffering, and a conditioned thing is not ourselves, everything is not ourselves, and everything is not beautiful. That is one key point of the right view or right understanding. Thank you.
Thank you. I think you got the answer. Sister Pasaka and then Brother Nim. Okay.
Again, my respect, Venerable Master, my respect, Professor. Actually, I want to go back to the middle parts. Actually, my question, I try to listen to the second student that asked the question to Professor is relate some part, but however, my question is related with the middle part. How can or maybe how to recognize well about middle part? Actually, people can speak it out. Yes, middle part is like this, like that. The Four Noble Truths is like this, like that. The Eight Noble Path is like this, like that. But actually, it seems like the theory, I mean, that they can learn from speaking or whatever. But how we can recognize clearly the middle part? Actually, for myself, I feel like I'm not in the middle part yet, because actually I am a part of Dhammacakkappavattana yoga, because actually we living in the world, I try to get what everything that I want, and it is a part of tanha that I noticed. So I think that go back to the beginning explanation about something that Professor have mentioned, that Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, maybe people know it, but still confused and they don't know clearly about the meaning. So again, my question is how we know or recognize clearly about middle part and make ourselves not confused that we are in middle part. Thank you, Professor. You get my question?
Yeah, thank you very much. Middle part, we, let's say, moderate, let's say middle way, Dhammacakkappavattana. Mahayana use keyword is Dhammacakkappavattana. They do not use the word middle, they use the word Dhammacakkappavattana. But nothing, we have to translate as middle. The right thing, the right understanding to use this as that Eightfold Noble Path rather than middle path. Because the Buddha introduced the middle path, he used the keyword is middle path, but later he used, later of that sutra, in the same sutra, he used the keyword is Eightfold Noble Path. So the Buddha say, if you want to live a noble life, and the two extremes must be avoided, and you must walk in the middle path. He did not mention what is a middle path from the beginning, but later on he mentioned another word is that let's say Eightfold Noble Path, right understanding, right thought, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. So when the Buddha clearly introduced this 8 elements or 8-fold of one part, only one part, but they consisted of 8-fold in that, and we found this 8-fold in our body, and he start to introduce clearly what is right understanding, how many elements of right understanding, how many elements of right thought, and how many elements of right speech. He introduced one by one. After we found that, after we understand the whole package of what is the Eightfold Noble Path, and we see that this part is systematically well prepared by the Buddha himself. And we work on that. Let's say, let me give you one example, whether you are on the right track of the middle part or not. Let me give you one example about right speech. The Buddha go further in detail what is right speech, and he mentioned that right speech is one, not telling a lie. Second is not how to say harsh speech.
Speech.
Yeah, harsh speech. And the third, slandering. And the fourth is vain talk. Like, let's say, useless talk. Some people start from the beginning, they tell you a lie. Some people, when you meet him, they start use the harsh speech. And some people, when they meet you, they start slandering. And some people, when they meet you, they start talking useless. Let's say a vain talk. So if you refrain from telling a lie, you refrain from giving a harsh speech, refrain from slandering, and refrain from vain talk, it means you are on the right track. It means you are already practice right speech, like that. And let's say if you refrain from killing, you refrain from stealing, and you refrain from commit missexual conduct. And then if you refrain from all the three, it means that you already practice the right action. So each of them, they have elements to be practiced. When we already practice all that thing, it means we already practice the middle way, or let's say we already practice the Eightfold Noble Paths, the right word that the Buddha used at the end of the story. Thank you. Whether I answer to your question or not, let's clarify again. And if not, please, Venerable Sukti, we have.
Yeah, Professor, clearly I cope with your answer. Thank you so much, Professor.
Okay, then Brother Kinin, please.
Okay. Let me pay respect to Pante, and let me say hello to Professor. Yes, thank you for your presentation. Thank you so much. We are proud of you. Thank you so much. And my question is, something to do with economic activity. As we know, the economic activity is changing every day, constantly. And based on your perception, do you think the Four Noble Truths can be applied to this to such a current of the economic activity right now or not? Thank you so much.
Okay, Professor looks like frozen. I think something wrong with his internet. Look like he got stuck. Okay, please wait for the moment until he comes back. So anyone else who have questions, you can raise your hand. You can raise your hand, or you can.
Okay, I would like to ask a question.
Yeah, you can ask after he joins, or you want to ask now. It's okay too. Yeah.
Oh, he is not
Yeah.
in.
Yeah. Looks like he got internet problem. Yeah. Just a moment. Wait until he comes back. Then. Okay, Professor, you got. Did you get the question from Brother Nin? Because I think you just got disconnected. Please turn on your mic, your mute. Yeah.
Sorry, just now my laptop finished battery. I did not aware of that.
Okay.
Now it start with the.
Okay, so Brother Nin, he asked about the Four Noble Truths. Can it be applied in terms of the economic field, economic changing world? How does the Four Noble Truths be applied to the economic field? And then Venerable Kong Prok, you want to ask the question now, please?
Okay, I got the question. Please,
Okay,
another
thank
question.
You. My question is that are there any experimental study to testify about individual understanding and the best practice in Cambodia? Because this theory has been found and formulated by the Buddha for more than 2,000 years ago. Is it still practical? You got my question?
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so let me try to answer the first question. Let's say the world is facing the economic crisis right now. Whether the Four Noble Truths can be applied in this area. Let's say I think I give you one keyword before at the beginning of my presentation. That keyword is I say the Fourth Noble Truth is a tool. I think you remember the keyword. Fourth Noble Truth is the tool. So when we say the Fourth Noble Truth is the tool, we can use this tool to solve many problems. Let me give you one example. Problem, suffering. Right now, the world is facing the crisis, let's say economic crisis. That is our problem. That is our suffering. Not only you, me also, we face this suffering. When the world is facing the economic crisis, many people do not have a job, and let's say jobless. And the seller, let's say the seller in the market do not sell their product. People do not use much money in the market, and everyone faces the problem. And if this is a problem, the question we need to ask, why? What is the cause? The Buddha mentioned there's a problem, there must be a cause. There's a problem, there must be a cessation of the problem. And what is the cause? If we have found the cause of the problem, we also have found the solution to use for the cessation of problem as well. So right now the world did not I don't talk in order to let's say I do not talk in order to avoid sorry. anything?
No, it's okay. Just
It's okay. Yeah. When I talk like this, right now, economists, scientists, politicians, and many others, free thinker, and do not found what is the cause of economic crisis.
seems like he got frozen again. Just wait for a while. Okay, Professor. Yeah, we didn't hear you. Just a moment.
Sorry, just a moment. I got someone calling.
Okay.
And they found that the economic crisis got because of the COVID-19 pandemic for 3 years, and followed by the Soviet Russian Ukraine war, and many other problems like many problems in Europe. Let's say the power shutdown, or the shortage of the power, the shortage of energy in many other countries in Europe and so on, and especially the food insecurity found after the war, the invaded war by Russia on Ukraine and so on. So we found different ways. Either politician, economists, or scientists, they found different sources, different causes of the problem. So yeah, that is okay. When we found different causes of the problem, we also propose. I mean, economy, scientists, politicians will propose the solution. That solution will bring to the end of the cessation of the problem, crisis, economic crisis. So come back to what I call Four Noble Truth as a tool. When we call Four Noble Truth as the tool, this tool can be can be used to fix many kind of problem of the world. But only the right thing we have to do is we need to find the real or the exact causes of the problem, and then we will propose the right answer and the right solution in order to cessation of the problem. So my short question is that my short answer is that Four Noble Truth is the tool to solve many kind of the world problem right now. But then we need to study in detail in order to bring this to the right track, in order to apply the right circumstances. Thank you. This is for the first question. And the second question, as I remember some, if I'm not wrong, you asked that the Buddha teaching is 2,000 years already, 2,000 years to 2,500 years and so on. So it's a long time ago. So whether this teaching is still valid until now or not, right? If I'm not wrong. So the Buddha mentioned in his Dhamma talk many places that his Dhamma is akalic, or is timeless. And my short answer is the Buddha Dhamma, the Buddha teaching is timeless and can be applied anywhere, anytime. But only we need to learn in detail to understand the Dhammas correctly, and we can apply it to the real situation of our life. Thank you very much.
I got a point, but are there any experimental study about Cambodian people who can understand about the Four Noble Truths or Eightfold Paths? And because some people just understand, but the practice is very limited.
Yes, I agree with you. I told from the beginning in my introduction is that, when I mentioned that the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra is the fundamental teachings of Buddhism. But unfortunately, I myself also very shy to see many, even in Buddhist temple, not many Buddhist monks have learned this correctly. And some of them just learn only to recite, while they do not understand the real meaning of the teaching, the real meaning of the discourse. That's why I encourage for people, Buddhist monk, especially Buddhist monk who understand this, try to spread the understanding of this Dhamma, the turning wheel of truth, in order to apply it correctly. I want to mention one thing, but I don't want to speak in English. I want to speak in Khmer. It might be clear, and it's very comfortable for me to express as well. Regarding turning wheel of truth, or let's say the Four Noble Truths, there's one academics. They bring the Four Noble Truths to apply in building, in architecture. សំទោសខ្ញុំសូមនិយាយខ្មែរបន្តិចរៀង comfortable សម្រាប់ខ្ញុំរឿងមានរឿងមួយមានម្នាក់នោះគាត់ជាសំទោសមិនមែនជាអាកាតិកទេគាត់ជាវិស្វករសំណង់ស៊ីវិលមានពេលមួយគាត់មករៀនពីអរិយសច្ចៈ4ខ្ញុំបញ្ជាក់ឲ្យថាអរិយសច្ចៈ4ជាឧបករណ៍សម្រាប់ដោះស្រាយយកមកវាស់កាលណាយកមកវាស់ត្រូវច្រើនរឿងបើយក tool ទៅប្រើជាមួយនឹងវិស័យពេទ្យសួរដូចគ្នាចឹងឈឺអីឥឡូវនឹងកើតអីឈឺអីស្អីទៅជាប្រភពនៃជំងឺនឹងព្យាបាលបានអត់ព្យាបាលដោយវិធីណាពាក្យតែប៉ុណ្្នឹងឯងជំងឺហេតុដែលនាំឲ្យឈឺនឹងជំងឺនឹងព្យាបាលបានអត់ព្យាបាលដោយវិធីណាតែ4ម៉ាត់ហ្នឹងទេអរិយសច្ចៈ4មានម្នាក់ជាវិស្វករសំណង់ស៊ីវិលធ្វើការឲ្យក្រុមហ៊ុនសិង្ហបុរីដើម្បីប៉ុន្តែគាត់ខ្មែរទេគាត់ខ្លាំងយើងនិយាយភាសាសាមញ្ញយកខេសម្នាក់ហ្នឹងយកមកនិយាយដឹងតែកូនខ្មែរខ្លាំងគាត់មករៀនអរិយសច្ចៈ4ហើយគាត់យល់ថាអាធូលនឹងសំខាន់ខ្លាំងមែនទែនហើយគាត់ធូលនឹងអាច apply បាននៅក្នុងវិស័យសំណង់គាត់បង្កើត system មួយចាយលុយ$40,000យកអាធូលរបៀបអរិយសច្ចៈ4ហ្នឹងបញ្ហាហេតុនៃបញ្ហាហ្នឹងដោះបានអត់ដោះដោយវិធីណាបង្កើត system មួយចងជាប្រព័ន្ធអស់$40,000ឧទាហរណ៍ថាសំណង់សង់ទៅសំណង់ហ្នឹងវាប្រេះមកកន្លែងហ្នឹងគេវាយតម្លៃថាអូបញ្ហាមកពី1 2 3បើបញ្ហាមករកឃើញតែបញ្ហា1 2 3អញ្ចឹងគេប្រពោដំណោះស្រាយទៅថាដោះបែបនេះ1 2 3ដូចគ្នាហើយគាត់បង្កើត system ហ្នឹងហើយឥឡូវនេះគេរលុយបានវល់លាន system ហ្នឹងប្រើជាមួយនឹងក្រុមហ៊ុនសំណង់ក្នុងស្រុកក្រុមហ៊ុនសំណង់ធំទិញ system ហ្នឹងទៅប្រើទាំងអស់ដោយទឹកតែមួយឆ្នាំឯសាច់រឿងហ្នឹងអញ្ចឹងត្រឡប់មកវិញខ្ញុំចង់បញ្ជាក់ថាអរិយសច្ចៈ4ជាឧបករណ៍សម្រាប់វាស់វែងជាឧបករណ៍សម្រាប់ដោះស្រាយបញ្ហារបស់មនុស្សហើយតែយើងយល់វាឲ្យត្រូវហើយរៀបវាឲ្យត្រូវយើង apply វាបានហើយចំនួនរបស់យើងទៅធ្វើម៉េចដើម្បីឲ្យមនុស្សយល់ពីរឿងខាងគីកមេទាំង3អរិយសច្ចៈ4ឲ្យបានច្រើនអាហ្នឹងវារឿងទាមទារឲ្យប្រសង់ចូលរួមច្រើននៅក្នុងការបង្រៀនហើយបង្រៀនឲ្យត្រូវហើយ apply ឲ្យត្រូវទាំងអស់គ្នាទៅយើងមានប្រយោជន៍અનેបច្ចុប្បន្នរាល់ថ្ងៃយើងសោក ដែរដែលភាគច្រើនប្រសងក៏ដោយប្រសងក៏ដោយមិនសូវយល់ពីរឿងធម៌ហ្នឹងប្រហែលទេហើយបើបានរៀនគ្រាន់តែទុកដើម្បីសូត្រទេណាសូត្រអួតគេទៅទៀតទូសូត្រអួតមិនថាខ្ញុំចេះធម្មចក្រគូវាវែងជាងគេព្រោះផ្សេងខ្លីសូត្រផ្លែតចប់
ថាធម៌ធំហ្នឹងថាធម៌ធំហ្នឹងគឺ
គាត់ធំចេះធម្មចក្រអូលយធម៌ធំសូត្រវែងតាមយល់ថាហ្នឹងដើម្បីអីសូត្រធ្វើអីចេះទៅចេះដើម្បីយកមកប្រើអីអត់ដឹងទេហ្នឹងសុំទោសណាហើយនិយាយពាក្យត្រង់តិចបាទអរគុណច្រើន
Thank you, Professor. Yeah.
Okay, well said. Thank you.
Okay, I think we have another question, right? Yo, Melanie, I think you raise your hand. Okay.
អត់ទេកណាយកស្រោជាមួយនឹងលោកគ្រូជាមួយនឹងលោកគ្រូសិនគុំណាយកស្រោគេថាត្រូវតារៀនចេះទាំងអស់គ្នា have to learn how and how to observe and practice the Dhamma through the precept is the most important that can lead us to the Eightfold path. Thank you, and we also should understand those parts.
Thank you.
Dara, have anything else?
បាទលោកបងហើយបងសិនគង់ចង់មានចង់សួរបងថាមានឯកសារឬក៏មានស្អីដែលអានពាក់ព័ន្ធជាមួយនឹងរិយមគ្គអង្គ8ហ្នឹងថែមដើម្បីស្វែងយល់ទេបង
មានបាទមានមិនខ្វះទេប៉ុន្តែខ្ញុំនិយាយដោយត្រង់ទៅខ្ញុំមានច្រើនសភៅនៅផ្ទះខ្ញុំជាភាសាអង់គ្លេសបញ្យល់ម្ដុំហ្នឹងច្រើនខ្មែរយើងមិនសូវមានណាសរសេររឿងនឹងបានច្រើនប្រហែលដែរទេ
ហ្នឹងអញ្ចឹងលោកគ្រូអាចជួយចែកម្លែកបានចាំតាមថ្ម
ខ្ញុំឧទាហរណ៍សភៅនេះជាសភៅដែលល្អមែនទែនជំនឿភូមិទេស្អីthe first discourse of the Buddha turning wheel of the Dhamma written by Venerable Dr. Revata Dhamma. He already passed away. And another book is like Dhamma, Man and Law, something like that is also mentioned, quite relevant to this topic. Written by K.N. Jayataleke, a scholar from Sri Lanka. And I have many textbooks on Buddhist study in my place at my home. If you are interested, okay, just we find time and meet each other and just try to bring in copy and learn it.
Okay, so Professor will give another presentation right next week. Will you be available for another week or?
On next week on 8, right?
Because another week it should be
on
9, yeah,
should be 9,
yeah, on 9.
Based on my schedule right now is still available, is okay, yeah. But on which topic? The same topic or
yeah, maybe you can go more detail about this sutta, like kind of summary or overview, because I think it's a big discourse, and you can also focus on Nibbana as well, that because I don't want to take over about this by myself. So if you can relate the teachings of the Noble Eightfold Path with the ultimate goal of Buddhism, Nibbana as well, because some people keep asking about the understanding, the correct understanding about Nibbana, complete liberation, because now we learn the way to complete liberation. So why not we share about the goal? What is it, what is it like to gain the complete liberation, So, okay, hopefully everyone, we can join again next week, and Professor will be giving us another presentation concerning with this Noble Eightfold Path and the ultimate goal of Buddhism, Nibbana. So I think that's it for today, because we have come up with the time. I really Thanks so much, Professor, His Excellency Sen Kong, for offering your important time of the day to give us presentation, and we have learned a great deal from your presentation. So we wish you all the best of luck. Thank you so much. Goodbye, everyone. Thank you. See you next week.
And see you
Thank you,
next week.
teacher. Thank you
Goodbye. Bye, teacher.
Goodbye. Good luck. Good
for
night.
presentation.
Thank you, Professor. Goodbye.
Thank you so much.